welcome back to At the Table. Today we are talking all about carbohydrates, which is definitely a hot topic in the health and diet world. We hear all different kinds of stuff about carbs, people saying that they're watching their carbs, they're only counting net carbs. I need to only have complex carbs versus simple carbs. So carbs are a big conversation in the nutrition world and in the diet culture world. I would like to point out that carbs are very important for us and that carbs come in all kinds of varieties, not just what you think of as bread or chips or crackers. So we are actually going to be making a carb-focused meal. It does have some other healthy macronutrients that we've talked about. It has some healthy protein for us. It also has some healthy fats for us, but it is mostly made up of carbs. So we're going to dive into all of that, and I'll just kind of explain a little bit about carbs throughout. So this recipe is a watermelon and feta salad from Lily Eats and Tells, one of my favorite bloggers. And I went ahead and put our arugula in our bowl. This is about 2 cups of arugula. I just kind of did 2 big handfuls and called it good. But you could do another base here if you wanted to. You could do spinach. Romaine would be really tasty. I went with arugula with what she said, but I think I'll be making this again with either a spring mix or spinach. Will be really good. So that is our base of our salad. We also have some quinoa that we are working on over here. I've went ahead, I'm trying to get our pot to a boil, and we will be adding quinoa, which is a grain. Now this is a carbohydrate. It is a whole grain choice as well. So when we talk about carbs, there are 2 different types. There are simple carbohydrates and what we call complex carbohydrates. Our simple carbs are what is broken down really quickly by our body. So these are typically going to be more of your processed foods. There are some fruits can be broken down quickly, but it depends on how much fiber is in them. Our complex carbohydrates, more like fruit juice, is going to be more of a simple carb. It can raise your blood sugar really quickly. Our complex carbohydrates are going to be things like our grains, our vegetables, things that tend to have a lot of dietary fiber, and also they tend to have other micronutrients as well. And it takes your body longer to absorb these carbs. So we'll be starting off with a complex carbohydrate here, which is going to be our cucumber. And we need about see how much we should use of this, about 1/4 cup. So I'm gonna maybe cut it about right here. We'll save the rest of that cucumber for later. And we'll just see where we are once I get this chopped up. So our carbohydrates are really important because they are our main source of energy. Now, our body can use other things for energy as well. It can use protein, which is its second preferred source. So if you don't have enough carbohydrates, then your body will begin to be utilizing that protein. The downfall of that is when it's starting to utilize that protein, it's using up the protein as energy, whereas your protein needs to be used elsewhere to, of course, maintain our muscles, synthesize things in our body. So all the stuff that we talked about last show, if you're using the protein for energy, it's not being used in those ways. So it's really important for us to make sure we have carbohydrates so our body can use that protein for all of the other things it does to transport our nutrients, to help with our hormones, all of that good stuff. The brain, it's actually the main source of energy for our central nervous system, which you think of with the brain. So if you don't have enough carbohydrates, some people feel foggy, some people don't think very clearly, maybe they're tired. That is because they're not getting enough carbs. The brain isn't getting enough, getting its energy. It has to get energy from something else. So the other place that we do tend to get energy from is fats, but it's not our body's preferred method of energy. Our body tends to store our fat instead, and we'll use it in case of an emergency for energy. So that's just a little bit of a background on the differences between some of our carbs, how carbs are used. I just went ahead and added half a cup of our quinoa into our pot here. It is boiling now, so we are gonna turn it down and just let it, you wanna let it return to a boil, which it has already done, it's pretty quick. And we're gonna turn it back down to just let it simmer for about 15 minutes. I will add the lid back on. Your quinoa, you know when it's done when there's like a little ring around the outside. So we're gonna let that cook. We will see you guys back in just a second to finish up chopping the rest of our vegetables.
Introducing the Star Communications app. All the tools you need in one convenient location. You can access Watch TV everywhere. Check local channel lineup. Check your Star email. View and pay your Star bill. Report troubles. Use your Star security app. Check your home voicemail. Sign up for CrowdFiber. Check your Wi-Fi speed. The list keeps going and going. Download for free from the App Store or Google Play.
All right, so up next, we are gonna be adding in some avocado to our salad. So I did a little trick where you take the outside of your avocado, put it over top, the leftover skin, and I just wrap it in a saran wrap. And you can see it started to brown just a little bit, but once we start cutting into it, you'll see that it's not really that brown underneath. So the best way to do this, I just push my knife into the seed and then pull it right out, being very careful to remove the seed afterwards. Now, for our avocados, you can do this a number of ways. I'm gonna grab a spoon. We'll try a different method this time. You can just take a spoon and scoop it out. And then we'll chop it. So if you're using the whole thing, then go ahead, just pull it right out of the skin. And chop it up. If you were to want to only use half of one side, then what I like to do is use the back of my knife to cut it up and then scoop out the portion that I need. So I'm gonna turn that around and we're just gonna dice this up into our smaller pieces. Avocado is pretty high in some of our healthy fats, but it also has it does have some carbohydrates as well. So as I mentioned last show, there are a lot of foods in general, I won't even say fruits and vegetables, foods in general that are made up of multiple macronutrients. And the good thing about that is that we know that each nutrient provides a vital role in our body, and it provides a different role in our body. So by having an abundance of different macronutrients in our foods, then we know we are getting what we need in our diet to help us feel pretty good. But the best thing about our vegetables and fruits, such as our avocado here, it does also help to give us the micronutrients, which are things like our vitamins and minerals that are really important for us as well. So up next, we're gonna add just a little bit of red onion. I've already got this chopped up. So about 1/4 cup of red onion. And some feta cheese. Feta cheese is mostly protein and fats. A lot of our cheeses or dairy products tend to be higher in our fats. There are some things that are carbohydrates in our dairy section, and that is typically things like our ice cream, mostly the ones that have a little bit of sugar added to them are gonna have a little bit more carbs. Now, our dairy products do naturally have carbohydrates as well because there's natural sugar in milk, in cow's milk, but natural sugar is okay. What we wanna worry about is those added sugars, which are gonna be more of our simple carbohydrates, and those are things like your regular table sugar, agave, honey, anything that kind of falls into your sugar category is gonna be considered an added sugar. It's gonna spike your blood sugar up really quickly. So you just wanna be mindful of that, especially if you are a diabetic. Okay, so next we have our fresh basil. And you guys saw in our show with Mr. Dempsey all about herbs, why they're so good and tasty and great to grow. Basil is one of those that you do need to use it fairly quickly. If you're buying it from the store, it doesn't tend to store quite as well. But it is my absolute favorite herb. Has the best flavor to me, and I think it tastes so good with watermelon, which is what we're going to be throwing into our salad as well. Now this is one that you don't store in the refrigerator. It will begin to turn black if you store it in the fridge. So just keep that in mind. And we're doing about a good 1 to 2 handfuls here. So I'm just taking it off of my main stem. Get it, there we go. And stacking it up, and then I'll just chop it all together. So I've used pretty much two sprigs of basil. They come in pretty large amounts of pretty big leaves as well. And I've showed you guys that chiffonade technique. You could do that here if you wanted it to look really pretty in your salad. Maybe you were making this, you know, to bring to an event or something like that, and it would look really nice to serve for a dinner party. I also think this salad would be really good for our summer months. And of course, as we get into July 4th, I think it would be really pretty because you've got that pretty red from the watermelon, lots of color. It would be a nice tasty salad. So I'm gonna add this in to our salad over here, and we will see you guys back in just 1 second.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we have our salad almost complete. We've just got a few more ingredients to make, and then we have a really yummy salad dressing that we're gonna throw together as well. So the next thing that we're gonna do is add in our watermelon. Love watermelon this time of year. Once it starts warming up, it's just so, so tasty, especially if you can get a really good sweet watermelon, which is our goal. So of course, there's a million ways to cut a watermelon. I got one that's already somewhat cut up. But what I like to do is go in with my knife. We're only needing about 1/4 cup, so I'm not going crazy with how much I'm cutting here. Just gonna cut this little edge off. But I just go through and make a couple slits, get pretty deep down in there, and then I slowly begin to work my knife in. And if it's really ripe, you can take a spoon and just scoop it right out. So hopefully we can do just that. And we'll just throw it right on top of our salad. Like I said, I love watermelon and basil. They pair so well together. So anytime you're making something with watermelon, add a little bit of basil. You'll be surprised at how good the flavors go. So this is, like I said, about 1/4 cup. This salad is actually supposed to be a single serving salad. Of course, that is just the recommendation, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to follow it to a T. It just gives you an example of how much calories are going to be in this salad so that you can keep track of that if you are focused on calories or you just want to know how many calories, how many carbs are in this, that type of thing. Anytime you eat a salad, I hear people all the time who are like, that is loaded with carbs. They'll look at a label and say, I can't believe they're eating that. It's got so many carbohydrates. But again, carbs are essential for our body. We should not be afraid of carbs. We shouldn't be afraid of any of the macronutrients. They all play a role in our health, and they all can do something different for our body. So we are gonna add a little bit of pine nuts here, just about half of a tablespoon. So I'm just gonna drizzle this. Pine nuts are one of those things that are not necessarily in every single grocery store, but I have a hard time finding these in Food Lion, but the place that you can find them is near the baked section with the baking nuts. So if there are baked chocolates and stuff like that, chocolate chips, go towards there, find the nuts, and they hopefully will be there. They're a little pricey, but we don't use a whole lot, and you can just keep them in your pantry for a little while. You could put them in your fridge, which will make them kind of last even longer, or you can even freeze them. So good. So last thing that we're gonna do is chop up some chicken. We had this already left over from our fats from a different show that we did, and we are going to just chop this up. And just throw it on top. So you can do grilled chicken here. This is very lightly breaded baked chicken. And I did do chicken tenderloins here, but remember when we're talking about our protein, we wanna make sure that we are using some protein sources that are lean in fat, so they're not really, really heavy. So we want about 4 ounces of chicken. That's probably about 4 ounces. And then our last step is gonna be making our dressing. So you can see how pretty it looks already. And once we get it dressed, we're gonna throw in a little bit of quinoa. We're gonna dress our quinoa as well. So throw a little dressing on our quinoa and throw that on the side also, and it will be absolutely tasty. So we're gonna go to a quick break. We'll see you back in just a second to do our dressing.
After completing my contract, I still have to buy out of it? Come on. Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping home secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody trying to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
All right, so we've got most of our salad ingredients done. The last thing is to make our dressing. We're gonna put a little bit of this in our quinoa as well, and then we'll top it all in our dressing, or in our salad. So the first thing we need is some white balsamic vinegar. I did struggle to find this in the grocery store. I went to Food Lion, didn't see it there, and then I went to our Carly C's here and was able to find it in Carly C's. So you might have to look around a bit. You'll likely find it in one of the bigger stores like Harris Teeter, Lowe's Foods, any of those places. You'll probably be lucky to find it there. But if you're local or in a small town grocery stores, you might have to shop around a little bit to locate it. You could use a white vinegar here. I feel like a balsamic has more flavor. So I just really wanted to stick with the balsamic for this one. Okay, then we also have a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. So that was 3 tablespoons, and then this is just 1 teaspoon. And then we have a little bit of olive oil. So we're gonna do about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I like to use a mason jar for this just so I can shake it all up. That was pretty much all of that oil. And then we have a little bit of honey. So this is just like not even a half of a teaspoon. So just drizzling for a couple seconds. Yes, this is added sugar. These are gonna be our simple carbohydrates, but we're eating it in something that is loaded with our complex carbs, right? So we've got tons of fiber in this dish with our vegetables and our fruits. So we're not as concerned about that here. Simple carbs are still a good choice. They're not terrible. We just absorb them really quickly, so just keep that in mind. That is where if you are diabetic, you can begin having that spike in blood sugar. But sometimes you need that if you haven't had enough sugar in the day. So I just did a little salt and pepper as well. And then we are gonna just throw a little bit of this. This is a balsamic vinegar that's dark chocolate. It's really thick. It's just a vinegar. Just did that the wrong way. But you can see how thick it is. We're gonna also drizzle that on top of our whole salad when it's done. You could use, this is a specialty vinegar that I had from Wilmington, but you could use a balsamic glaze here and it would be just as good. So I'm gonna shake it up. That was just what we had here at the office. I do have balsamic glaze at home, but we're just using what we have on hand. All right, so then we are gonna add just a little bit of this to our quinoa. And you can see here, hopefully the little bit of rings maybe around the quinoa. It's kind of hard to tell until you're really in front of it, but it becomes translucent and then you'll see that ring, and some of them even have a dot in the center. So that is how you know your quinoa is done. I did refrigerate it for just a few minutes, not super long, but I didn't want to put it hot on top of our salad. So we're mixing that up. We'll throw that on top. I love adding grains to salad. It completely changes the texture, the flavor profile of a salad. It is so good to me when you add some grains. So you can actually see before I even dress it, all of the different flavors that we have going on. We've got our cucumbers, our onions, our feta cheese, watermelon, some fresh herbs in there, and then some avocado, chicken, and quinoa. So yummy, all of this together. This is the kind of salad I like. Don't want a plain salad with just some cucumbers and carrots. I like it to be loaded with all of this goodness. And one thing that I did want to mention too is part of why we choose our complex carbohydrates is for the fiber. And think of fiber as a broom. So think of it just like we sweep the floor. I've used this analogy before in our show, but just as we sweep the floor of any junk that's on the floor, fiber helps to sweep away things that are inside. So it cannot be broken down by the body. So it goes kind of straight through us. It helps to gather anything else that's in our intestines, and then of course we excrete that. So it's really good for us to be getting enough fiber because it does help to clean us out. Same as your floor, you don't want a really dirty floor. You'll be living in a home with a super dirty floor. That's not fun, right? Same for your body. Your body thrives better when it's clean, it's got some good fiber in it. So make sure that you are getting your fiber in. One of the only ways to do that is to eat your carbohydrates, those complex carbs. Whether they are your grains, your fruits and vegetables, any of that. It doesn't matter as long as you're getting those in, but don't eliminate carbs completely from your diet because they're important. They play a vital role in your body, and of course, also what's in your body is your brain. So you'll make sure that you're able to think clearly and all of that as well. So hope that you have time to make this salad. I cannot wait to dig into this one, and we will see you guys back next time to talk all about fat.